Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about these twins named Roger and Steven. Roger and Steven grew up thick as thieves, tight, always looked out for each other, never really were away from each other in a substantial amount of time anyway, until after they graduated from high school. When they graduated from high school, Roger goes off to college while Steven stays home. It was a hard adjustment period for both of them because they were twins. They've been together since before they were even born. Always around each other, always going to parties together, always in school together, the same classes, everything was the same. And now Roger's off at college because he loves to read. Steve, he stayed at home instead of going to college. He loves to be in that music. He got the beatbox stuff going on, the studio, he's doing all that, and he wants to make his way, in the music business. So he felt the best thing he could do is stay at home, get in the studio, and do his thing. It took him into two different directions. Roger, the academic, Steve, the artist, the musical artist. And fate would have it that Roger, he excelled at school. He made the dean's list his first, semester, and after that, he made the president's list. You got to have a 4.0 to do that. And he continued to do that throughout. While Steve, on the other hand, he had some glimpses of success, that's all, with his music. He got his stuff on the radio a couple of times, but it never translated into the sales that you could say, you've made it. He done local shows and all of this and that, and he always had those conversations with the promoters that he would meet and the people that he would meet in the music industry that would say, we're looking at you, we're watching you, keep doing your thing and all this and that. And his fan base never really just grew. He was one voice, one entertainer among many that just good but not quite good enough, to make it through, to break through that ceiling. And it turned him. But see, at the studio, he met a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life. And see, a lot of guys that were into the music business, they didn't have the kind of money that you needed to be able to continue to make music and work at the same time, because they all were working. So on the side, every now and then, they get them a little side hustle, sell a little weed or something like that, maybe a little coca every now and then, but nothing major. But it was the people that they would meet in the course of doing this stuff that turned them, to more of the streets. And that's started to reflect in the music that they were making and the things that they were saying in their rap songs and all this and that. And Steve, he became part of that. And he would talk about robbing and hustling and all of these different types of things that, his brother Roger knew that this ain't him. So one day he comes home and he wants to come home and introduce his new fiance to the family and all this and that. And he's talking to his brother Steve, and he said, bro, you better than this. You better than this. Don't go down this road. Talk about uplifting our people, because Roger been off at college and he been in all of these classes and learning these things about African American studies, and he wants to be about the people and he wants to uplift the people. He don't want to do anything to hurt the people. He saw what Steve was doing is something that's going to pull people away from thinking that they're good people, talking bad about women, calling them B's and H's and all of these different types of things, and talking bad about, the community that you grow up in and all this and that, and not recognize, even though it's hard, don't get me wrong, it's hard, but not recognizing you got hard-working people in those areas just trying to keep their head above water. They need somebody to tell them it's going to be okay. Somebody to uplift them. Not somebody that's making them believe that the only way out is to hustle. Not somebody that wants them to believe that a hustler is not a bad person. You understand what I'm saying? Well, let me correct that too, right? Because I don't think it makes them a bad person. It makes them, the behavior that they're exhibiting is bad. And then I guess by virtue of that, you're doing bad things. So while you're doing those bad things, you are a bad person. But when you stop doing those things, then you get back to you. Okay, so let's remember that. But let me get back to the story. Here we go. Now, so while they're having these conversations and Roger is making sure that his brother feels him, and he does, how could he not? They've been thick and thieves, you know what I'm saying, but in the womb. So it makes Steve feel bad. So he wants to stop. He wants to quit hustling. So he leaves it alone for a while. But then Roger, he goes back. You know what I'm saying? He's living in another state now. He goes back home where he's living at now with his fiance, getting prepared to start a new job, new career, all of these types of things, and just build a family. And while he was gone, it made Steve go into a depression again. He left all of that alone. He didn't want to do any of that stuff, but he's working, but he's not making enough money to continue to do what he feels that his calling is, music. And he gets upset. And it hurts him. So the wedding. It's time for the wedding. Everybody, the family, everybody's been invited to the wedding. Now, of course, you know, Roger wants Steve to be a part of the wedding. And he wants to be, but he started to feel bad about himself. He ain't got the kind of money he need to get a nice suit and all this and that. Roger understands it, so he gets him the suit, he gets him the money that he needs, all of this, so he don't feel embarrassed about what's going on. So everybody comes down, they go to the wedding, and Roger gets married, and everybody's happy and all this and that. And the whole time that Steve is there, he's drinking, sneaking out the back, smoking, you know, weed, and the depression is taking hold of him. It's taking hold of him. So when he comes back home, he says, to hell with Roger. He don't understand me. He don't know what I'm going through, he would say. So he found himself in a tough spot. So he got back into it. Meeting all different types of people in the streets, you know, gang members and all of that. And they wanted him to get down, but he wasn't that far gone. He didn't want to do that. But he was a street dude at this point. So he's still hustling a little bit here and there, whatever, you know, and things are not adding up. Because that little time that he was away from the game, his whole clientele moved on. They're not going to wait. So when he comes back, you got the same dope as the person on the other end of the street got. So they can't rely on you. You're not dependable in the streets. So they stick with the people that are dependable, the one that's going to keep hustling no matter what. So he's not making the kind of money. He's just getting what falls off the table. So Roger and his new wife, they come home to meet, you know, not to meet, but to be around Steve and his mom and his pops and all this and that. They just want to see how people are doing. They got some exciting news that they want to share with everybody. Teresa, that's Roger's wife. She's pregnant and she's having a baby. They're going to be having a baby. Steve is going to be an uncle. They don't know if it's going to be a boy or a girl, but he's going to be an uncle. And Roger wanted to tell him that. He wanted him to know that. And at first Steve was happy. He was excited about it. But then the more he thought about it, the more he drank, the more he smoked, he started to resent Roger and all the success that he had. He felt as though this should have been him. This should have been the life that he had. Why couldn't things work out for him this way? Why were things going bad for him? Why is it that, you know, nobody's recognizing how hard he's working? You know, why is it that he can't keep a girlfriend? All the things that are going bad in his life, he's pointing at Roger as the reason these things are happening. And, excuse me, it's not true, but it's enough for him to feel as though, you know what I'm saying, I got to hang my hat on something. It's got to be something. It's not me. It's not me. And that's what'll happen to you when you get down on yourself. You won't look at yourself. You just won't. You can't stand to it. You can't stomach it. Because you know you look dirty and nasty. You don't want to see that inner you. So it's got to be somebody else. See, that inner you that's dirty, it'll make you say it's somebody else. It'll make you believe that. And see, when you start to believe something, you start to act on it. Now, the fact that he started to see his brother as somebody that was the reason he wasn't a success, he felt like he should take him down a notch. He should take him down a notch. But he didn't know what to do. So he would pick fights with him and argue and all of this old kind of stuff, right? None of that worked because Roger knew his brother better than he knew anybody else. He wouldn't go for it. So the last day that Roger and his wife Teresa were going to be in town, Steve plotted. He plotted. He came to the house. He asked Roger could he use the car. Of course. He tossed him the keys. Now Steve, he gets in the car. He pulls down the street. And when he's down at the end of the street, he changes clothes in the back seat. When he finishes changing clothes, he gets back in the front seat and he drives on. He goes a little bit further down the street to the grocery store. And at the grocery store, it's shift change. It's not that many people there. You know, they're in the back where they get ready to cash the receipts out and switch all the stuff out, and then the manager's going to take all of that to the bank. So he goes in the back. He catches them all in there at one time, get on the ground, put that pistol on, grabs the bag, and he runs through the store. He could have went out the back. He runs through the store. Cameras everywhere. And they catch him on camera. And then he runs and he jumps back in the car. And when he runs and jumps back in the car, he turns real quick towards the side window on the driver's side. He turns, look at it, and he turns back and he speeds away. And he goes straight back to the house. Well, of course, the manager and all the people that they call 911, tell the police to dispatch. The police get there, they get a description of the car, what he was wearing, and as best as they could tell what he looked like. But it was sketchy. But somebody got the license plate. So they get back, they go by the house. The police go by the house. And they see, and they got a description. And they see Roger. He's got on the tan shirt, and the blue jeans, and the tennis shoes that match the description of the person that robbed the store. They take him into custody. They arrest him. His wife is panicking. His mother is panicking. His father is panicking. Steve is panicking. Everybody is saying, wait a minute, this can't be true. This is not him. He was here with us the whole time. They say, we got him on tape. It's on surveillance. It was him. When they get to the jail, they arrest him and they book him, and now they want to make his bond, and the magistrate says that, well, because it was a violent offense and done with a handgun and many people were threatened, that he's a risk to the community. So for the time being, he was not going to grant him a bond. So he had to stay in jail overnight. They find a lawyer. The lawyer takes the case. The lawyer goes to see him. They have an ironclad alibi. He was at home with his mother, his wife, his father. Ironclad alibi. And everybody knows, wait a minute, who could this be? It was Roger's car. There they say that it was Steve. So they all question him and they ask, was it you? Did you do this? Why would you do this? And he said, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. And they show him what the lawyer showed them, which was a picture of the person driving off in the car. No, they didn't want to believe that he's sitting there in their faces and looking at them and telling them it's not him, and he wants to lash out at them because he's angry that they don't believe him. When you come up with a plan or a plot like this, a lot of times you don't think it through, and when people start to punch holes in what it is that you were saying, you get mad at them. You want to deflect. You don't want them to think and turn against you. You just want somebody to listen to you. But out of his anger, he storms out of the house. And his mom, his dad, and his daughter, his sister-in-law, they know it's him. So they call and they tell the lawyer it has to be Steve that did this. And they were willing to testify that it was him. They were willing to testify that it was. So the lawyer goes to the jail and he sees his client and he tells him, he said, look, it might be best that you don't get out. Because if you stay here, at least we know where you're at, and if anything else happens, you got an alibi, you're in jail. He said, I have experience in these cases when a person is escalating out of control and spiraling out of control like Steve is, he's going to do something else. He's going to get caught up on something else. And sure enough, he did. He was caught with drugs in his pocket, an ounce of cocaine. So they arrested him. And he goes down to the jail, and now both of the brothers are in jail, sitting there. And Steve gets put on the same wing that Roger is, and they're talking, and Roger, he wants to say, bro, why? But he don't ever say it. And the tension is in the air, and it's not unlike anything that they've ever had to experience, because they were in the womb together, they were tight, they were always close, and they never really talk about it. They never really talk about it. But see, Steve, he's plotting, planning, and strategizing. So he makes a call to the district attorney's office. He tells the DA that my brother admitted to me that it was him, and I'm willing to testify against him in exchange for probation. And the DA meets with Steve's lawyer and makes the deal, and nobody really knows that this is happening, and the trial date comes. And when they get up there, you have his mother, his father. Listen to me, his mother, his father, and his daughter-in-law testifying that it was him that borrowed the car. It was him that was gone at that time. And Steve sits there and, because he's not in the courtroom at this particular time, he sits there and he waits on the opportunity for them to call him in, because he's going to be testifying in this. So they call him in. And when they call him in, Roger's lawyer is cross-examining him. He's going at him. He said, wasn't it you that borrowed the car? Wasn't it you that did? And he, in front of everybody, he says, it wasn't, I didn't borrow no car. And at that point, if there was any doubt in his mom, it was gone. And she looked at him and she wept, because she's like, what happened? What is going on? He couldn't even look at her. He couldn't look at his father. He didn't care about Teresa, though. He couldn't even look at his brother at the table. And as he sat there, he continued to tell this tale that his brother admitted to him in the jail that it was him, and he was going to get away with it because they were confused whether it would be him or Steve that did it and all this and that. And the jury listened. They listened to this. And what you would have thought would have been a clear case of reasonable doubt, they found him guilty of armed robbery. And they found him guilty and sentenced him that day. They sentenced him because it was his first time, hadn't been in any trouble, college graduate, gainfully employed in another state. All of these things helped him out. He received a 7-year sentence. And for him, though, it may have been a life sentence. It should have been. Because it ruined everything. He lost his job. The employer was waiting to see how things panned out because they had been told the situation. So they held the job but once the verdict came in, they immediately lost confidence in him and dropped him. They couldn't hold his spot for him. His wife was pregnant, and it's almost time for her to have a baby, but he wasn't going to be around, and he had to be taken off to prison. But Steve, on the other hand, is set free. Because of the plea agreement that he made, he gets to walk. And he goes home that day, well, within the next week or so, after they process the paperwork. And the week that they were in jail before they sent Roger off to prison, Steve wouldn't even talk to him. They kept him separate. Didn't have a word to say to him. And if you want to know how this continues to play out, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode, y'all. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.